Hello, welcome all. Thank you so much for returning. And today, I just want to say, with our New York Mets, nothing is really going on, nothing of significance. Yet again, we have another small, low level signing, but we hear a bunch of big, booming rumors all around us. We hear Juan Soto potentially could go to our crosstown rivals in the Yankees. And then we hear rumors all over Shohei Ohtani. Is he going to the Dodgers? Is he going to the Braves? Oh boy, these generational players that once could believe to be a New York Met aren't coming to fruition, as so it seems. And I just gotta say, I feel a bit down. I feel a bit kind of like, you know what is the plan? And I know the plan right now is patience. I hear names like Fetty. I know he went to the Chicago White Sox. I hear names like Giolito. I hear a lot of low-level names, and it doesn't excite me one bit. But then I also look at what we have right now, especially on the pitching side and the low-level minor leagues, and it seems like we just really kind of don't have what other teams have. And when I was looking at like the Yankees right now, they're involved in if you're a Yankee fan, this is a very exciting time. You have a lot of friends who are Yankee fans, and they are on the Juan Soto watch. And what do the Yankees have that we really don't have right now? And what they have is they have talented young pitchers, and they have an abundance of them. And I mean, hopefully it's something that the Mets can develop within the next year or so. We have guys that eventually could come up and could be developed. Last year, we saw guys develop like Christian Scott in the minor leagues, Mike Vassell. And it's just those guys that just need more time. They're just not where we need to be. So to make a trade like Juan Soto, it's just not in the card. But what's the light at the end of the tunnel? The light at the end of the tunnel is Juan Soto is going to be a free agent next year. So if the Yankees or whatever team that trades for him doesn't sign him, hopefully Steve Cohen and the Mets put themselves in the position where we're an attractive place for a guy like Juan Soto and other free agents. But right now, we're just not there. As unfortunate as it seems, we're just not there. But the good thing is we have a guy like David Stearns who has built a winner in Milwaukee at the young age of 30. I mentioned this in my last video. He was very successful in building sustainable success. He built a core. He built a young nucleus, and they rose up. There's a lot of young, talented players in Milwaukee, and that's what we're trying to do in New York. That's what David Stearns is going to try to do in New York as well. I mean, for all of you that didn't see, we're going to get the 19th pick in the draft. We were supposed to get the 9th pick, but just because we spent a crap load of money, we were bumped 10 spots down. So we're going to pick number 19. We're going to give David Stearns and his new regime an opportunity to select a very young, talented player so we can hope for the best. But that's going to be exciting. That's going to be exciting. What I see is I hear a lot of names. I hear names like a Rosarina. Verdugo was actually a name that was bandied about in Met circles, but the trade package was more appealing on the Yankees. So Verdugo obviously went to the Yankees. Right now, I don't think Stearns is going to get gypped. I don't think that he's going to give up anything more than what he feels is gypping off the other team. That's what I feel. I feel if we're going to do a trade, Stearns is going to feel damn comfortable that we are getting the better end of the bargain. That's what I feel right now. We're in a position where we can kind of stand pat and develop this year. If we win, if the guys that he signs to lower level contracts perform, which he thinks that they have the potential to perform, watch, he wouldn't have signed like these players. I think that might be a way where we see success, especially with this expanded playoff. We're not going to spend a lot of money, folks. I want to spend a lot of money. I want to add onto the payroll. But just because of the fact that Epler left us with basically a pile of crap, and we're already at $300 million, and we don't have a team that's sustainable right now. We don't have a pitching staff. We don't have really a power hit laden team. We need power. We need depth in the outfield. We need middle relief. We basically need our last 10 roster spots. We need a whole lot of stuff. Now, the most important part of the team is pitching. Pitching right now is tough because we're in a market where there aren't many pitchers. And I've seen reports from writers saying, oh, there's a lot of talented players out there like Blake Snell and obviously Yamamoto and, Jordan Montgomery. But there's only a handful of guys. And to pay these guys, I don't feel that these are upper echelon guys. I really don't. Besides Yamamoto, I don't feel like I would be willing to spend a lot of money on these guys. I really don't. But we're going to see the approach very, very soon. I'm pretty sure. Well, I mean, obviously, the floodgates are going to open once Shohei Ohtani signs and once Yamamoto signs. Other than that, right now, it's just a couple moves trickling in. And one of the biggest moves, obviously, is going to be Juan Soto. Juan Soto could sign or could be traded as early as tonight. According to Andy Martino, the Padres and the Yankees are in deep conversation right now. They are in deep conversation. Michael King was the pitcher that was kind of like, I don't want to say a controversy, but that was the pitcher that the Yankees have been reluctant to give up. It seemed like Drew Thorpe, Michael King, possibly a Clark Smith could go to the Padres. And those are three pitchers right there. The Mets don't have a package like that. We don't. So even if you wanted to trade for a guy like Juan Soto, but according to what the Padres are looking for, we don't even have a package that would even come close. We have the hitters, we have the outfielders, we have the infielders. We just don't have the pitching. And that's the type of thing that teams know. They know pitching is expensive. So how else can you get pitching? You can acquire pitching and trade. You can acquire pitching throughout a trade. And if you have an asset like Juan Soto, an asset that you're not going to be able to sign next year, if you could get 3 or 4 dynamic starters, and that's what the Yankees could provide, you know what? It kind of makes sense. But at the end of the day, if you're a Met fan, hopefully, the Yankees trade and they give a lot of these assets and they don't sign them. That's the thing. You're going to be giving up a lot of assets, and you really don't know. You don't have that guarantee that at the end of the year, Juan Soto is going to sign. His agent is Scott Boras. Scott Boras, we know, is notorious for going to free agency, especially with a generational player like Juan Soto. And that's the only thing I would be worried. I know Yankee fans, I would be ecstatic. I actually said, Juan Soto going to the Yankees would be, pretty a sight to see. Him hitting in going to right field, them having that type of lefty. I mean, we're the crosstown Mets, but you know what? Have their fun for 1 year, have a dynamic player. Hopefully he hits the free agent market, and next year, hopefully we're in a position to sign him. So that's our best case scenario if you're a Juan Soto fan. All right. So Fedde got signed today. He was a free agent who was rumored for the Mets to be interested in. And honestly, the Mets just seem like they're interested in all these really low-level guys. I know he had a lot of success overseas, but, again, I said there's not a lot of good pitchers, and you're really going to have to overpay. And I was looking at MLB.com, and they have a lot of these pitchers projected, like what they're supposed to be getting. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I'm going to read you the market value. So the market value for a guy like, well, let's see, Teoscar Hernandez. So that's a guy who I want to sign. That's actually probably my number 1 DH/outfielder. The market projects him to get a contract of about $17 million. He's 31 years old. We'll see if he's going to get a contract. I believe he's going to get a little more. I believe he's going to get a little upward of $20 million, probably sign a 3-year contract. But, we'll see. It's pretty interesting. It's apparent that pitching, that if you're a pitcher in this market, you luck out. Like last year, Kodai Senga signed a 3-year, $75 million contract. That was great value. Like if you put Kodai Senga in a market like this, actually, I'm sorry, it was 5 years, 75 million. It was some type of ridiculous low-level contract. If Kodai Senga was in this market, he would definitely get over $100 million. So if you're a pitcher, you really luck out depending on when you become a free agent, because Jordan Montgomery, I heard some crazy numbers that he's going to get 150 million to 200 million dollars. Jordan Montgomery? I mean, that's a little nuts. That's a little insane. I was thinking if the Mets could get him for under 100 million, okay, yeah, I'd sign him. But I wouldn't touch that guy 6-7 years, 150 million dollars. No way. He's not proven enough. I know in Texas, yeah, he was great. He helped them win a World Series, but you got to do it for more than 6 months, in my eyes, to get a contract of that type of magnitude. Yeah, you know what? The Yankees, the Yankees, Aaron Boone, Cashman. There's something going on. There's excitement, and this is where I really had to jump on, because in the last couple of years, and I'm pretty sure everybody's felt this kind of excitement. I mean, we had the Trevor Bauer like watch. We had George Springer. We had all these guys we were like, excited to sign. Verlander last year, Scherzer a couple of years ago. There was so much excitement every free agency. And it just seemed like this free agency, now that Shohei Ohtani is off the books, the excitement level has really plateaued big time. And then you look across the water in the Bronx, and I could feel the excitement. I could feel the enthusiasm. I mean, getting a guy like Juan Soto, in my opinion, I think the Mets, if the Yankees find a way to sign him, I think the Mets are going to regret this. I really do. I know they don't have the trade package to compete with the Yankees because they don't have the pitchers, but still, a guy like Juan Soto, in my opinion, is generational. He's a generational player, and I think it's going to be an excellent move. You think of that lineup right now, Aaron Judge in the middle of the lineup with Juan Soto. If Jason Dominguez becomes anything like the player he thinks he's going to become, or they think he's going to become, that is going to be such a dynamic lineup. The Yankees have taken a lot of flack in the past couple of years, but you know what? If you're a Yankee fan, you got to be excited about that. And here's the thing: if you look at it from the Mets perspective, I don't mind when the Yankees do well, and I don't mind when the Atlanta Braves do well. When your rivals do well, and that goes right in the face of Steve Cohen, right in the face of the general manager, it nudges you. You can't feel worse when your competition, when your rival does good in your face. That's why I always root for rivals. I always root for the Phillies. I always root for the Braves. Because you want to know why? If I want my team to feel bad and I want my team to be motivated to do better, it hurts when you see your competition do well in front of your face. That's just my opinion. Don't want to hear any more about the Stankies. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, you bring a good point, and that's why I said I came on here, because I was feeling bad myself. And I was like, all right, you know what? Let's see if we can put something together, a representative where we're going to go forward next year. And I was thinking about like the opening day lineup. And I had a lot of good feelings. Like if Lindor, if Edwin Diaz, if Pete Alonso, if Jeff McNeil, if Brandon Nimmo, if we sign a Teoscar Hernandez, if we got a Yamamoto, our team is pretty decent. I mean, we got a good young core. We got a lot of good guys coming up from the farm system. Like, I'm going to be excited about Acuna this year, Drew Gilbert. Obviously, Ronnie Mauricio came up. Hopefully, Brett Beatty. So there's a lot of excitement in Queens as well. We just had a very tough 2 months. August was tough. September was tough. But I think 2024 is going to surprise a lot of people. I really do. As long as we don't overspend on some of these crappy mid-level pitchers, I think we'll be fine. I think David Stearns is a guy who knows how to find value. The reason why his job is extremely tough is he's shoveling out a bunch of crap that Epler left behind. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm happy Epler left the organization. I don't think it would have been good. I don't think it would have been effective if a guy who left the trail of garbage is still in the organization working side by side with David Stern. You might as well get rid of the garbage. Stearns, who the guy who brought in the garbage, it's better that he's away from this situation. That's just my opinion, but I'm actually happy that David Stearns got to assemble his own front office, and that's good. I think we're in great shape. So let's see here. And another thing, I don't know if anybody saw this. Did anybody hear about Ohtani? And he was talking about New York, and he basically said, when asked about playing in New York, he said, I can't envision myself ever playing in New York. Now, this is a quote I never knew this about Ohtani, but apparently this quote happened 6 years ago, and they asked him about going to the New York Yankees, and he goes, no, I just can't play in New York. So that was about 6 years ago, and apparently that quote has come to back in the news today, because I think there were a couple people in the Mets world who thought that there was a chance that he potentially could come to the Mets. In fact, I think Evan Roberts was the guy on WFAN. He was leading the charge, saying that the Mets are the dark horse team and potentially could sign Ohtani. And a bunch of writers were probably trying to stomp that down, saying, no, there's no chance. Ohtani didn't even want to come here 6 years ago. And of course, you hear that, and then you also hear the rumors that Ohtani is interested again with playing with the Braves. Then you hear the Braves general manager. He's trying to shut it down. But like hearing that Ohtani's going to the Braves and that Soto's going to the Yankees, I mean, honestly, if you're a Mets fan, that's pretty tough to take. All right, so we're going to go through some of your comments. All right, so this is probably our number one friend, Braves fan here. And we say, my dude dominant, like all the All-Star players, it seems, LOL, go Braves. He isn't going to the Mets. I tried telling you. Okay, I know you've been trying to tell me for a year now. But you know what? If you're a Met fan, you're going to have hope. Obviously, you want your team to be as best as possible. So if you see a guy out there like Ohtani and you think he could help your team, like you're going to hope that he comes to the team. And let's go. Next comment up, did the Wilpons buy the Mets back? And you know what? I know that's been like the feeling. I've actually heard that. I've actually heard that probably 10 times in the last week. But here's the thing. I think David Stearns is operating on a limited budget. Here's the thing. What I said about Epler. Epler was like a child last year with Steve Cohen's $1 billion wallet. He was like, Daddy, I need more money. I need $100 million. And then at the end of the day, Steve Cohen looked at his team and he had a $400 million payroll. And we were one of the worst teams in baseball at the end of the year. So, I mean, there was no responsibility there with the payroll. There was really no logic. A lot of older guys who just were, not cutting it. And basically, this guy did not know how to conduct himself in the trade scenarios. At the trade deadline, Epler was a complete disaster. Other GMs saw this guy coming, and they basically knew that they could rip him off. So Epler was horrible, and we saw how he was when he was with the Angels. He did nothing. He left nothing behind in LA back there. The LA Angels had no prospect. They had no pitching. It was just a terrible scenario. So I gotta, Steve Cohen, I give him all the credit in the world. I'm so happy that he's our owner. I'm so happy that, we have the richest owner in baseball. But that hire was a horrible hire, and I don't know how it was orchestrated, but I'm so happy Epler is out of this organization. And it just seems that although it seems like the Wilpons own the team again, David Stern just seems like he values the dollar. He values the fact that, this guy and Steve Cohen spent a whole lot of money last year and got nothing. He got nothing in return. And you know what? I know we don't hear this as fans. We don't hear this, but I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of heads rolling last year. Steve Cohen couldn't have been happy. Couldn't have been happy. All right, it's comment from Jimmy. And Jimmy, thank you so much for that. Are we making a deal or are we sitting back? Now, apparently today, we actually were in the Verdugo conversation. That was what David Stearns had most recently on the table. But the deal went to the Yankees. Yankees were able to acquire Alex Verdugo. That was the latest thing. That was the latest report. It does seem like, stuff is happening. We just don't hear a lot of it right now. David Stearns right now, it's a lot of button up in the organization. There's not a lot of reporting coming out, but I would assume so right now. David Stearns, he made his impact with the Brewers when he traded for Christian Yelich. He did that in about, I believe, his second or third year, but he came in as a very young GM. So I would anticipate him moving very quick. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a trade in the near future. We just don't really know what it is right now. So we have to be patient. And I know it stinks. I know it sucks. You hear, Soto going to the Yankees. You hear Ohtani going to other teams like the Dodgers, and you hear our competition constantly getting better. And then you keep refreshing Twitter, click, click, click. You keep looking on YouTube, and then you don't really see us doing anything. So I know it's very frustrating. I'm frustrated myself, but, we just have to kind of be patient until a move is made. And I have confidence that moves will be made. And, I don't know about this. How does everybody feel about Kelenic going to Atlanta? I don't know. I know he's been pretty underwhelming in Seattle, but the guy's a young guy. I believe he's got 4 or 5 years left on his contract. He's got a sweet lefty swing, obviously a center fielder. So I honestly think that was a pretty good trade for Atlanta. Not much risk there. And, at the end of the day, they can flip him to another team that sees that potential in Kelenic as well. And of course, we couldn't pull that deal off. Oh, well. All right, next comment up. What is it with Alonso and the Mets? If he leaves New York, that would be so bad for the Mets and their fans. Well, I said this the other day. If you're going to trade Alonso, first of all, you can't let Alonso walk. That's number one. If you're not going to sign Alonso, you have to make a trade that's going to be franchise altering. That's if you're going to trade him. I'm a big Pete Alonso fan. Like I always say, I wouldn't trade him. But if you even consider trading him, the return you get has to be franchise altering. You have to get pitching back. Just like the Padres are trying to acquire pitching, they're trying to acquire 3/5 of their rotation. That's what you have to do. You really have to do that. A guy who hits 40 home runs and drives in 120 RBIs consistently, and if you're going to trade him to a contender, that's what you're going to be looking back. You're going to be looking for pitching. You're going to probably be looking for some power, but you're going to be looking for a dominant package. Now, if we don't trade him, hopefully we sign him to a friendly contract, a contract reminiscent of with the Braves, how the Braves signed their homegrown players. But the thing about with the Mets is they've waited to the last year. So it's going to be tough. Pete right now has he has most of the leverage. And at the end of the day, Boris says, all you have to do is wait a couple more months, buddy. You're going to free agency. If you were signed up a couple of years ago, the Mets would have had way more leverage. And actually, that's what I thought Cohen would have done. And I was a bit surprised that we never explored signing him a few years ago. I thought we could have locked him up for 20 to 25 mil, probably locked him up until he was 33, 34, could have capitalized on those prime years. But, unfortunately, we did not. All right, Juan, thank you for your comment. So you're next up. So we might just end up with Montgomery. We should be going after Randy. He fits the Mets perfectly, but I don't know. Mets don't seem like they're going to improve this season. And you know what? It's early on, and we're getting that feeling. We're all getting the feeling that the Mets aren't doing nothing. We're all getting like the kind of like depressed type of feeling, and that, what's going on. Like I said, we see a lot of stuff going on around us. but I think it's a bit too early right now to judge. We had the second day of the winter meetings. Not a lot happened all across MLB. Once the floodgates open and all the players start going to other teams and we still don't have anybody, I would get a lot more negative a lot quickly. But like right now, I would have to say we have to be patient, even though I'm not patient myself. So it's a bit tough. And we'll see. Like Juan, I think that a trade is very likely. I think we're gonna see what a good general manager, a good president is. Epler wasn't a good GM. He was a crap GM. So seeing our new president, David Stearns, in his basically, this is what he does. This is what he does. He's good at making trades. So let's give him a little time. Let's be a little patient and let's see what he does. And Jordan Montgomery, based on what I'm hearing, $150 million for 6 and 7 years. I don't know about you, Juan, but I think it's a little too rich for me. I mean, the guy just had 6 months. He had a good 6 months with Texas. I know he pitched decent with the Yankees, but like, look, we're paying him more than Zach Wheeler. We're paying him more than Kodai Senga. We're paying him more than a lot of top echelon players. Like, I wouldn't pay Jordan Montgomery that money. All right, so Stearns is making offers, and Yankees and Braves block them. I mean, I don't know if Yankees and Braves are physically blocking offers, but it seems like they have superior packages right now to what teams wanted, especially specifically in the Juan Soto scenario. San Diego is looking for pitching. They put it out there that they're looking for pitching, and I wasn't as familiar with the Yankees farm system, but they have some good, really young, talented arms. And more importantly, they have talented young arms who have been successful at the major leagues, like Michael King. The guys was phenomenal at the end of last year. Clark Smith. So they got a couple guys that they can offer who have been successful at the major league. And they also got guys like Drew Thorpe who are in their top prospects who they can offer as well. Yeah, Juan. I mean, we got to be smart with our money. Like giving Jordan Montgomery that much money just because there's no other good pitchers at this point, it'll kill us in 3 to 4 years. I mean, we got to build this thing right. We got to start building up our pitching. And you know what? At the end of last year, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we had a couple good young pitchers. We got to see how they do this year. Like Christian Scott, Mike Vassell, Dominic Hamill. These guys, they're in our minor leagues. They just have to continue to develop, and hopefully next year they'll come up to the major league and be productive. But the good thing is we're changing our scouting department. We're changing the way we do business. We're developing our pitchers. So hopefully these guys will turn into something more useful than they turned into in the past. Well, unfortunately, this is actually a pretty good comment. I like this. Mets must pick a big name free agent. They'd be done as a kid. Okay, so I'm assuming they must pick a good free agent, or else they'd be done in terms of contender for 2024. Now, here's the thing: I don't think they're looking to be a contender for 2024. I think if they contend, yeah, that's a great thing. But I don't think they're going to spend a ridiculous amount of money. I don't think they're going to give top prospects to get that extra player or extra arm. I just don't think they're going to do it. If the guys develop, that's one thing. And at the trade deadline, if they're in a position where they're in first place or they're fighting for first place, then they would add. But I don't see David Stearns, really trading any top prospects away now, and I don't really see him spending any big money unless he's getting a Yamamoto right now. I mean, I kind of hope I'm wrong. I know he's trying to really fix a lot of stuff that was done wrong by Billy Epler. Like the payroll's not a good situation right now. We're at $300 million right now. We're at $300 million, and we've virtually done nothing except sign Luis Severino. So we have a bunch of holes in our rotation, and all we have is a crappy fifth or sixth starter in Luis Severino. So I mean, it's just really, really kind of tough right now. But it's just, as they keep telling us, we got to really, really be patient. Let's see. I mean, if you really think about it, in the last couple of years, we had talented pitchers. I mean, even Taiwan Walker. Like, look at like Taiwan Walker is somebody that I was thinking, if he was in this pitching free agent market, the guy would get $100 million. He would get $100 million. It's just so sad right now that there's like really no talent. And I was going over the free agents for next year, pitching free agents. And if we wait one more year, the market for pitching just skyrockets next year. There's so many more viable options in 2025. And I'm just going to read you some of the free agents, and we're going to go over some of these options. All right, so next year in 2025, and I don't think this is going to happen because he's going to be 34 years old. Garrett Cole has an opt out, so he could be a free agent. I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know. Plus, he's going to be 34, 35, and he's going to be expecting more than 36 million, so I wouldn't even touch him. Max Scherzer, he's going to be a free agent next year. Wouldn't touch him. Chris Sale, he's going to be a free agent. I would not touch that guy. He's been injured his entire contract. Zach Wheeler, he's going to be a free agent. So we got to see if Philly signs him. Although Zach's going to be a lot older, he's going to be 34. Patrick Corbin is a free agent. He's going to be 35. So these are all guys I wouldn't touch. Charlie Morton, he's going to be 41. Another guy I wouldn't touch. But then you go down the list. You got Tyler Glass now. So if he makes it to free agency, that's a guy who I would look at. Jose Quintana, obviously, he's one of our guys. He's a free agent next year. Nick Martinez, Ross Stripling, Andrew Heaney, Kyle Gibson, Yusei Kikuchi, Lance Lynn, Alex Cobb. And the thing is, I'm looking at this list, and everybody's like 38, 39 years old. All right. See this, I'm looking at a list. It's not a good list, but then when you go further down the list, you start seeing the good free agents from next year. Like next year, pitching wise, you have Corbin Burns, he's a free agent. Shane Bieber's a free agent. Walker Buehler, he's a free agent. Although the Dodgers are usually good at locking up their guys. Paul Sewell, Nick Pivetta. I mean, like I hear people say like trading for like a guy like Tyler Glass now. Like, I would totally wait for these guys, especially pitchers, to get to free agency. Like it doesn't really make too much sense giving up your top prospects for a guy who's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. I mean, Juan Soto, like that's the type of guy who I would risk my prospects for. Yeah, I'll get a guy like Juan Soto, and then I'll have the ability to sign him. But Tyler Glass now, he's a good, nice pitcher. But I'll wait to sign this guy next year. I mean, Tyler Glass now, he's last year, obviously he's 29 years old. Last year he was 10-7 with Tampa Bay, 3.53 earned run average. His whip was 1.08, so good whip. His strikeouts was 12.2 per 9 inning. Yeah, I mean, that would be a guy who I would target. And I was hearing a lot of trade rumors for Tyler Glass now. I just don't see Stearns giving up the farm for him. That's the thing. But that would be definitely a guy I would target next year. You know what? I was doing this the other day. I was trying to do a lineup, what our lineup would potentially look like next year. So, like right now, like if we make no trades, like our lineup's going to look like eerily similar to what it did last year. Like I had like Nimmo batting first. Second, I have Lindor. Third, I probably have I don't know. We honestly, if you put Lindor second, we don't have a 3-hitter right now. You know, like really, we don't have a 3-hitter. I'm a type of person. I like Lindor batting second. So I guess for the sake of this conversation, Lindor would have to be batting third. You probably would have to slot McNeil at number 2, or I don't know. Let me just do this lineup because you're going to probably have Mauricio at third base. You're going to have McNeil at second base. First base, you have Alonso. Alvarez behind the plate. Center field, you have Nimmo. Left field, maybe Teoscar Hernandez if they sign him. You know what? Bottom line, the Mets got to do a lot of work. They literally don't have – they only have 3 pitchers in their rotation. They have a lot of holes in their lineup. They signed a bunch of garbage in the last week. Wow, this David's. You know what? Doing like a simulation, there's got to be a kind of a big move coming. There's really got to be a big move because we don't really have any outfielders right now. We have Nimmo, we have Marte. I don't really count him. We have, you can convert a couple guys to the outfield. I heard about possibly Mauricio to the outfield, although I wouldn't really do that. But like, we really don't have outfielders right now. Let's see what the depth chart looks like. What 100% right. We only have Brandon Nimmo and Starling Marte. The other outfielders that they have listed on our damn roster are Cooper Hummel, Alex Ramirez, and DJ Stewart. So we essentially have one outfielder right now. We have one damn outfielder on our team. Alex Ramirez, he's going to be in the minor leagues. DJ Stewart's going to be on the bench. Starling Marte is going to be on the injured list. And Cooper Hummel, I don't know if he's going to make the team. So we essentially right now have one outfielder. Yeah, I mean, like, Juan, that is essentially the core right now, but it's what we had last year. And it's a bunch of like mixed pieces right now. We want, it seemed like Stearns, he wants to focus on defense. Defense is going to be a priority. That's a mishmash right there. Marte, like I said, he's 35 years old. He's often injured. You probably want to upgrade your center field because I know Nimmo 2 years ago, he elevated his defense. Last year, it took a little tick back. So if you got to push him to left field, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, it's not really like if you add 1 or 2 pieces, that'll make everybody better. It's just 1 or 2 pieces and not a Vogelbach. We subtracted Vogelbach from that lineup. You definitely can't have a vote, a guy like that. Like, but like, my best thing is if you put like a Teoscar Hernandez in that lineup, or if you trade for a guy we're not thinking of. Hopefully David Stearns is on the phone and he's trying to make a Yelich trade part two. That's what he did to Milwaukee. Took off. They didn't start making the playoffs, I believe, until 2018, and that's when he made the Yelich trade. So hopefully he can make a Yelich trade part two, but for our New York Mets. But that's just going to be like very important to like elevating the team, because right now we don't have a lineup, we don't have a sustainable lineup, and we really don't have a pitching rotation. So obviously there's really gonna be a lot of work to be done. And I'm a guy, I hope David Robertson comes back because he did phenomenal, and coupling him with Diaz in the bullpen, that was the duo that we were hoping we would have last year. We never had that duo. Robertson was our closer, and Diaz obviously wasn't there. So hopefully this year, if Robertson is willing to come back and he was successful here, I think that would help us out tremendously in the pen. Yeah, then the latest news, Stearns yesterday, he made I guess a proclamation how we're not going to go out and we're not going to get a third baseman. It's going to be internal. And I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I don't know if he has confidence in the guys, but I mean, if you got Brett Beatty, Mauricio, and Vientos, you got to have a third baseman in one of those guys. I mean, you got to have a third baseman in one of those guys. So, I mean, I don't mind ignoring third base. I really don't, especially when you certainly got to focus on the outfield and the pitching staff. But, I also thought that it could have been a strategic way of going to the media. Oh, we got a third base covered, even though he possibly or potentially could have maybe been interested in somebody. I thought it could have been a strategic move as well. But, I guess we'll just have to see how that works out. So it looks like the top, according to this latest report, John Morosi, the top three teams right now for Yamamoto, or at least what he's predicting, are they going to be the Red Sox, the New York Mets, or the New York Yankees? But he says that the Red Sox have made Yamamoto their top priority. But I mean, like, to be honest, Yamamoto seems to be half the league's priority. So and in the beginning of the offseason, to be honest, I was very excited. I was one of those fans that thought we were going to sign Yamamoto, no doubt, hands down. But like after seeing how things are playing out and seeing how like David Stearns is really tight, he's zipping the lip. But I really wouldn't be surprised if we don't sign him. I really don't at this point. Like I want to be confident that we will, and I really want to. But if we're not willing to sign this year, why is he going to blow the payroll way over $300 million? It's just really tough to kind of see. I want him to do that, but I don't know. It's really hard to read David Stearns. He's not really giving us a lot. He's really not. We really deserve a winner this year. I don't really believe in 2024 going to the wayside. I really don't. So I would be extremely disappointed if we don't give it everything we got this year. Because I mean, like Steve Cohen, and I keep going to the fact that he promised us, but I mean, the guy bought the team 4 years ago now, and it seemed like every single year that he's bought the team or that he's had the team has really kind of gotten worse and worse. Last year, culminating in our worst season, so that's going to be extremely disappointing. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no doubt we're going to have players off the books. In fact, let's actually see who we're going to have off the books this year. I know we got the garbage contract sitting on our payroll, Verlander and Scherzer. I believe almost $50 million of their contracts sitting on our books for 2024. So I mean, even if you would have took their money off our books, we're sitting at 284 in terms of payroll, 285 million. It would still be a lot, but we would be at 235 million, which would be well below the 290 threshold, which that's what taxes Steve Cohen almost 90%. All right, so next year. All right, so this year, our payroll is estimated at 280. Next year, it drops all the way down to 145. So we drop a lot of guys off the team. But you think of it, Pete Alonso drops off. Drew Smith, he doesn't really count. Tomas Nido drops off. Quintana drops off. Jeff McNeil drops off. Brooks Raley drops off. Wendell drops off. And then you lose Max Scherzer. So Max Scherzer, you're paying $30 million. In 2025, you're not paying him as much. I mean, you're paying him nothing. Justin Verlander, you're not paying as much. And 2024, which is this year, we're paying Justin Verlander $26,250,000 as part of his contract. Next year, we're only going to be paying $17.5. Yeah, I know, only $17.5. But yeah, our responsibility payroll-wise, we can really reset the payroll. If that's the goal, we can reset the payroll. And it really seems like, as weird as this sounds, I mean, it's not the worst strategy, but it seems like we keep copying the Dodgers. The Dodgers reset their payroll last year. So it seemed like, that's a very viable idea for Steve Cohen. Possibly we could be resetting our payroll. I mean, you see what the consequences are. We lose 10 spots in the draft this year. So this is the type of incremental stuff that does hurt us if you care about that type of stuff. All right. Comment from Game for War. How can Yamamoto be the Red Sox top priority when he's the Mets top priority? Well, apparently, and this is whatever fan base you speak to, whatever reporter for that particular fan base you speak to, every fan base seems like Yamamoto is their top priority. You speak to the Dodgers fan base, you speak to some beat reporters over there, Dodgers want Yamamoto. Although they're going for Ohtani first and then fallback option, Yamamoto. Yankees think their top priority is Yamamoto. Red Sox think their top priority is Yamamoto. We believe our top priority is Yamamoto. I hope that Cohen goes God mode and really blows everybody out of the water and makes that contract that, hey, makes it known that we're going to sign this guy. I really hope so. I saw a couple ideas the other day about getting creative with the contracts in order to make our contract stand out. But whatever Cohen's got to do, I mean, this is the guy, 25-year-old phenom pitcher. This is the guy you sign. This is the guy you sign. If you're going to pass on Soto, if you're going to pass on Ohtani, and if you want to be a serious owner, if you want to be that a big time market, like we're New York City, we got to sign these big time free agents, especially these big time free agents when they're in their goddamn prime. I mean, I don't want the Verlanders and Scherzers when they're 40 years old. This is the guy you throw the money at. You throw the money at the guy when he's 25 years old. Am I excited about getting the 19 pick? Not really. I mean, like, I would have been excited if we would have got a top 6 pick, but getting the 19 pick, I'm like, all right, hopefully we can find value back there. I mean, you think about it, there's only like 12 or 13 picks that could have been worse than ours. But if you got a good scouting department and good talent evaluation, it shouldn't really matter where you pick. It really shouldn't. Dante, you got thank you for your comment. First off, that's very important. Let's go. Your comment says check back in a month. Maybe Otani will have made his mind by then, and the rest of the world can move forward. I mean, you're absolutely right, Dante. You are absolutely right. The whole, like, literally, I would say 80% of MLB right now is held up. 80% of MLB business is waiting for this damn man. We're waiting for one guy. And that's why I kind of feel Otani doesn't want his business known. He doesn't want his business known that he's meeting with this team and meeting with that team. If I were, I mean, it's a bit embarrassing. It's a bit obnoxious that one man is holding up the entire MLB. So if I were him, no wonder why you hear these rumors that he's going to sign soon. He's going to sign soon. I mean, I don't know if his people feel the pressure or if Otani feels the pressure. He should feel the pressure. There's so many teams just waiting for him. There's so many other players waiting to see, all right, I want to go to the Dodgers, but they're going to allocate $50 million to this man. And if they don't do that, I have an opportunity to go there. So he just has to sign. And apparently the rumor is Otani's going to sign first and then Yamamoto, but vice versa. I mean, these guys, whoever signs first, we got to get these two guys, Otani first, then Yamamoto, then the floodgates will completely open. Then Blake Snell, and, Blake Snell's like pretty interesting. Blake Snell, you hear rumors that the Mets could sneakily be interested in a guy like Blake Snell. Blake Snell saying the Mets could be like a backup option. But, it all comes down to money. But I'm not really interested in Blake Snell at that high valuation. If he's going to make between $150 to $200 million, the guy is too injured. And like I said this the other day, if you're injured more than Jacob deGrom or just as much, Jacob's been injured really a lot the last couple of years. So maybe that's an extreme example. But if you're going to sign a guy who is going to be injured, he's not a Jacob deGrom. So paying him $200 million, it's not like, oh, when he comes back, he's going to be that lights out. He's a good, nice pitcher, but I don't see him aging that well. I don't really like his attitude. I'm not a big fan of Blake Snell. I don't like that he's injured a lot. There's so many negatives. If we could sign him for a value contract like nobody else wants him, we'll pay him $20 million a year, between 20 and 25. I would give him something like that, short-term 3 or 4 year deal. But I know he's not going to want that. He's going to want some type of mega contract, something a shade under Yamamoto. And I'm not willing to give Blake Snell anything around there. Yeah, you know what? This is another good point. Hopefully the new regime doesn't draft another catcher or shortstop. It really, I know catcher is a premium position, but it really does seem like we draft a lot of shortstops. Like Kevin Parada right now was supposed to be a top draft pick, and it really seemed like he's going to waste. He didn't have an impressive a season last year. But if you're going to make a trade, that's a guy I'd be willing to trade because we got so much catching depth and shortstop depth as well. I believe last year or the year before that, we drafted Colin Hewitt, Plus, we have Ronnie Mauricio. We have Acuna. He can play shortstop, second base as well. Obviously, Jet Williams. And there's a couple really young shortstops in their system. Jeremiah Jackson. I forget what his last name is. But there's a couple really young shortstops in the system. But it's like really kind of all we really draft. That's a really good point. Hopefully, we draft pitching. I don't care how many pitchers you draft. Just keep drafting pitching. Draft pitching, 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 pitching. And I said this the other day. So the Mets, if you look at the top 30 players, we don't get to a pitcher until 9th. Our top 8 players in our system, Acuna, Gilbert, Jet Williams, Ronnie Mauricio, Kevin Parada, Ryan Clifford, Colin Hewitt, Marco Vargas, all hitters, all offensive guys. The first pitcher you get to is Mike Vassell. And Mike Vassell, according to the scouts, he's more upside. He's a 3. He's a 3. Maybe if everything goes right, a 2. But you got Mike Vassell, Blake Tidwell, and then you got Christian Scott. He's a 12th ranked prospect, so he came on last year, so that was a good thing. Then we drafted Brandon Sprout a couple years ago. He's our 14th prospect. Justin Jarvis, we acquired in a trade. Dominic Hamill, Tyler Stewart. So if you go between 10 and 20, we have a lot of pitching prospects, but which tells you they're about a year or 2 away. We don't really have anything on the horizon. So that really goes in line. If the Mets aren't targeting a 2024, but they're targeting more of a 2025, I could see that because at least they have a lot more pitching to back up the major league team. And who knows? All these top prospects, like batting prospects, Acuna, Gilbert, Williams, Mauricio, Parada, Clifford, maybe you use these guys to acquire a pitcher or acquire a position of need. Because there's going to be a logjam. How many shortstop? Acuna shortstop, Jet Williams shortstop, Mauricio shortstop, second baseman, Hewitt shortstop. Then they got Jesus Baez. He's another shortstop. He's our 18th ranked prospect. Diego Mascara. He's a 24th ranked prospect. He's a shortstop. But yeah, good point. Very good point. All right. Juan, if you write, if Ohtani signs with Toronto, I'll be pissed. Yeah, I don't blame you with that. Toronto, the Padres, it just seems like these are the franchises that somehow always get it done. They've been pulling out like signings in the last couple of years, pulling out trades. I really wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Toronto is a team I had on my list that I would be ultra surprised. If you saw recently today, the Cubs, I believe they were scratched off Ohtani's list. It really didn't make sense. I said in my last video that Ohtani having interest in the Cubs, that must not be true. It can't be true because if you think about it, Ohtani wants to go to a winner. The Cubs won 82 games last year. Ohtani wants to go to the West Coast. Obviously, the Cubs aren't on the West Coast. So the Cubs, I really couldn't see. Now, Toronto is another team. Yes, they're getting better. They haven't won anything. Maybe Ohtani sees himself as the difference maker. But again, it's not a West Coast team. So this is all stuff that we've been hearing that Ohtani wants to go to West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. Maybe the Blue Jays are being used as leverage or the agents are using him as leverage. But yeah, the Blue Jays, I don't know. I wouldn't like that either. But, then again, I wouldn't like him going to any other team other than the Mets. So I'm a little biased or very biased. All right, Dante, pass on Snell. 5-inning pitchers don't deserve ace money. Plenty of other options. Well said. Well said. Snell's notoriously been, when he's healthy, a five inning pitcher. And I think he's been going a little deeper, but that's been the MO on him. He's always been a very 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 he gets to 100 pitches very easily. That's the thing. He throws a lot of pitchers and he only goes 5 innings. So you're right. He doesn't deserve ace money. All right. Next comment from Game 4 War. Yes, they think that if someone is athletic enough to play shortstop, they can play any position. That's why they have so many 24-year-olds learning to play a new position. It's dumb. Well, here's the thing. Shortstops are very athletic, but at this point, when they're already, developed, or you want these guys to be make your major league club, it just really kind of makes sense to target what you think will affect your team in the future. And shortstop, yeah, they can play all around the diamond. But the bottom line is shortstops can't pitch. So for us to keep getting shortstops and catchers, no matter how valuable or versatile those positions are, they don't do half of what teams need. Pitching. You need pitching. In these last couple of years, I just really haven't been understanding our top picks. Now, I know we've been drafting guys later in rounds, but besides Kumar Rocker, which was a couple of years ago, he was the guy that, we drafted, but then we undrafted. But besides that, we haven't really drafted any top guys with our top picks. I mean, when we had 2 first-round picks a couple of years ago, when we had Parada and we drafted Jet Williams, I would have thought one of them would have been a pitcher. Fine, you want to get Jet Williams? Parada, if Parada would have been a pitcher, that would have been phenomenal. I don't know the pitchers that went that year, but I'm pretty sure there's probably a good, young, promising pitcher that was drafted around Parada. All right, Juan, you say Otani kind of effed himself by getting hurt, might have to sign a 1-year deal to prove it. I highly doubt Otani would have to sign a 1-year deal. I highly doubt. If there was one team interested, maybe, but there are teams interested. You may not hear it, but the Dodgers are interested. The Giants are interested, and teams like the Cubs, the Mets, Texas. The reason why they're taking themselves out of the running is there's so many teams interested that they know they're not even going to have a shot at him. So take themselves out of the running. But if there was limited interest, that's when he would have to sign a 1-year deal. It's kind of like a Kevin Durant situation. If you're an NBA fan, the guy tore his Achilles a couple years ago, but still, there were enough teams out there willing to give him a max contract where he didn't have to do a prove-it contract. Luckily, Shohei Ohtani is in that scenario. He's in that predicament where he doesn't have to do a prove-it contract. All right, so let's look at our core right now. This is the core that we currently have on our team. Right now, the estimated payroll for 2024 that I'm looking at Fangraphs, we have it at $277 million. All right, so obviously we have Francisco Lindor. He's going to be making $34 million. Brandon Nimmo is making $20 million, so $20,500,000. Starling Marte, waste of a contract. He's making $20,750,000. And you have Starling Marte for the next 2 years clogging up the outfield. Then we have Edwin Diaz as far as making the next most money. He's making 21 million is a little more. But I'm excited to see Edwin Diaz come back. I mean, I don't know how everybody feels about this, but it's hard to see Edwin Diaz coming back and being as electric as he was in 2022. But that's going to be such a significant addition to the team. Adding an Edwin Diaz, and especially an Edwin Diaz that was lights out a couple years ago, that is going to be key. Now we're paying him $21 million a year, but a guy who can influence the bullpen and influence our team like Edwin Diaz did, I would say the guy's worth it, especially if he pitches like he did in 2022. Kodai Senga is making $15 million. He's making 15.6, and I got to say he is well-deserved. That money is well-deserved. Quintana is making 13 mil. 13 mil. Quintana did actually pretty decent last year. And if you compare his 13 mil with Luis Severino, I give 13 mil to Quintana any day, considering Severino's making the same amount. But that just goes to show you how bad the pitching market is this year. Jeff McNeil, he's going to be making $10 million this year. Jeff McNeil, if you've ever watched my videos, I am not really a big fan of Jeff McNeil. I think he plays a bit too much golf. I think he needs to focus a lot more on his professional career, especially as a baseball player. He did come on as of late. I got to give him credit. But throughout the first 3 or 4 months, he was extremely, extremely disappointing. Then on the books, we still have Omar Narvaez. Couldn't get rid of him. We have Brooks Raley making $6.5 million. That's a good deal. And then we have Joey Wendell. And then the estimated arbitration guys this year, we have Drew Smith making $2.3 million. Pete Alonso making $22 million. Joey Lucchesi making $2 million. David Peterson making $2 million. DJ Stewart making 1.3, and Phil Bickford. Oh, I didn't even know he was still on the team. He's making 1.2 million. See, David Peterson, he's a guy. Like, here's the thing: David Peterson and Tyler McGill, they were supposed to take off last year. Like last year, those two guys, our rotation was supposed to be dominant. Obviously, Scherzer and what's his name, Verlander. They weren't as lights out as they should have been. But, at the end of our rotation, guys, 6, 7 guys like McGill and Peterson, they took a step back. They really did. And for us to be successful, we're going to need those back end of the rotation guys like Tyler McGill and David Peterson. We're going to need these guys to really come on and be strong this year. And this is what really good GMs and good presidents do. They find those 5, 6, 7, 8 starters. And that's what makes a really deep rotation. Like Peterson in 2022, Peterson was 7-5 with a 3.83 ERA, and his strikeouts per 9, I remember, was around 10. I mean, like a guy like that, if he was a free agent, having that type of year in 2022, and his 2020 was even better. He was 6-2 with a 3.44 earned average. He didn't pitch many innings, but Peterson really, like I said, he really took a step back. What a disappointment last year. What a disappointment. I'm looking at Peterson's advanced stats to look at where he really went wrong. The funny thing is, Peterson his ground ball rate actually went up a lot last year. So you would think that he would do better, induce more ground ball double plays, and guy gets players to put the ball on the ground. That would be better. Like usually, he would be about 44 to 49% ground ball percentage, but last year he was 55%. Yeah, and you know what it is? His home run to fly ball ratio doubled from 2020. It was 10.2 percentage and it went up to 21.1% last year. So you can't give up home runs, bottom line. Dante, again, this is one of the most important parts of the offseason. Just get one more bat to give Pete some kind of protection. If the offense can give their career averages, we should be okay scoring runs. And I mean, that's right on the money. I mean, if you think about how pathetic last year we were at protecting Pete, I mean, Vogelbach protected him for more than half the year, which, literally lost Buck his job. And made and Epler was the one who was forcing Buck to have Pete be protected by this guy Vogelbach. I mean, it made no sense. It made no sense to anybody. Like everybody could see how not productive Vogelbach was. Pitchers obviously could see, oh, you got this scrub behind Pete Alonso. I'm not going to give Pete anything to hit. I mean, it's so amazing that Pete was able to hit. What did he hit? 45, 46 bombs last year. It's just so amazing. Think of how much better of a hitter Pete would be. I know he suffered average wise, but Pete was doing everything he could to put the team on his back and drive in runs. But that is absolutely 100% right. And I guarantee you, if David Stearns is any type of decent president or decent general manager, he is 100% working on Pete's protection. And everybody's saying, I hear a lot of, people around the team saying they like Teoscar Hernandez. I've been saying that for a couple of months now. But even if we're going to be more creative and there's another guy out there that we're not really thinking of or that we don't know who's available, we just need a guy who's a power threat, a guy who can drive the ball the other way, a guy who has a good eye, a guy who teams fear, because you don't need teams pitching around your best hitter. If that's going to be the case, you need to put Pete out of the 4-hole and put him in the 3-hole and then put somebody else in the 4-hole. But then that just screws up your lineup tremendously. If you have a number 5 hitter who protects Pete, that would be the most ideal situation. A lot of folks are really hoping that one of the young kids like a Vientos could eventually provide protection, and Alvarez could eventually provide protection. But I'm not one of the opinion that that opening day you have one of these guys there. These guys have to be consistently productive at the major league level. Yes, Alvarez was good, but you want to have a deep lineup. So if he's going to be good, you have him good in your 7th slot. You want a major league proven hitter in the 5 slot, hands down. Wow, Juan, you're going old school with Olerud, Piazza, Ventura. Yeah, I mean, I certainly remember that. I don't know if everybody, I don't know how old everyone is, but if they remember the Sports Illustrated cover, I believe it had those 4 guys on it. That was a very fun team. That was a fun team, definitely fun team, and that just kind of tells you that it's all about defense. Defense. We need defense. So with that being said, we're lucky that we have Lindor. Lindor, I think he came in second in the Gold Glove. So we have a phenomenal shortstop third base, the hot corner, that's going to be important. So I know Stearns is saying that we have our in-house solution, but like defensively, I'm not really convinced that we do. Also, too, McNeil, I got to look at the advanced numbers. McNeil, yeah, he's a jack of all trades type of defender. He could play outfield, infield, and that's very productive to have throughout the course of the season. But as far as him being a raw second baseman, I'm not sure how versatile and how his range is as compared to other second basemen. So maybe if we can improve upon that, that'd be something I would look into as well. Pete's pretty solid at first. Alvarez, I think, is improving defensively behind the plate. And then outfield leaves a tremendous amount to be desired. We need a tremendous amount of help in the outfield, offensively, defensively. And as we've spoken about in the beginning of the video, we have no freaking outfield. We just have Brandon Nimmo, Brandon Nimmo, an injured Starling Marte, and, and I'm going to say this as nice as possible, a bunch of scrubs. I don't know if anybody heard, like, we originally came on. Juan Soto was being rumored to go to the Yankees. Yankees didn't get him, right? Just checking. No, okay. So he's not a Yankee yet. All right, good. Wow. Wow. I don't know if this is true or not, but I have no clue who this is, but I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this person, Jenna Tolles. She reported breaking. This might be fake. This might be a fake person, but she reported it 24 minutes ago. The San Diego Padres and the New York Yankees are closing in on a deal involving Juan Soto and Trent Grisham. It's for Michael King, Drew Thorpe, Alex Verdugo, Spencer Jones, and Spencer Jones. Okay, so I have no clue who this person Jenna is. It could just be like a random fan pretending to know stuff. But if that's the trade package, the biggest thing that stands out is the Yankees obviously just acquired Alex Verdugo 5 minutes ago, so that's interesting. And then they're taking Trent Grisham back, so they're taking a big salary back. They're trading away one of their top young arms in Drew Thorpe, one of their dominant MLB guys, Michael King, and Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones, I think, is their top-rated prospect if you look on MLB.com. He's supposed to be, obviously, he's not going to be an Aaron Judge, but he's got an Aaron Judge build. He's 6'6". He's got a lot of power. So it's a pretty decent package, but I thought that the Yankees were going to have to give more than that, to be honest with you. Yeah, honestly, Juan, I literally, while you typed that, I just said that the Yankees, I believe, had to give up a lot more than that. So if they got away with that trade, that would be a pretty good move for them. I don't think the Padres would take that trade. The reason why I think the package really went from 7 players to literally the package went from 7 players to 3. Spencer Jones, Drew Thorpe, and Michael King. And I don't really count Alex Verdugo because he just became a Yankee 5 minutes ago. And the other day we were talking how the Yankees would have to give up Jason Dominguez, but I guess they got around that. Well, I mean, Juan, if it makes you feel any better, hopefully, Spencer Jones, like he's a very talented guy. Drew Thorpe's very talented, but these minor league guys, no matter how talented they are, they haven't performed at a major league level. Michael King, I believe he's 28 years old, 29 years old, but last year he was lights out at the end of the year, lights out. But bottom line, I really thought the Yankees were going to have to give up a lot more than those three players, a lot more. Taking on a salary in Trent Grisham shouldn't have to negate giving up two or three other prospects. So that would actually upset me as a Met fan because, hey, if we take on some salary, we could just give a pretty crappy package. I'm not impressed with that package. Yeah, game. That's going to be the thing. 2024 is Soto's free agency year, so obviously this is his free agent year. He could hit 40 plus home runs. He could bat over 300. He could put up a crazy OPS, crazy slugging. I mean, hopefully, okay. All right, if you're a Met fan and you're upset that the Yankees are getting Juan Soto and you want to make yourself feel better, think about this. You want Juan Soto to have the craziest, most ridiculous year. You want him to have an Aaron Judge year. That's what you want, right? You want it to have an Aaron Judge year. Obviously, you want the Yankees to give up as many prospects as possible. So you want it to have that Aaron Judge year, and then you want him to demand $500 million plus in free agency, right? So, and then you want him to walk away from the Yankees. But if the Yankees pay, they have to pay a ridiculous price. So whether they pay him $500 or $600 million, I would hope that he walks away from the Yankees after the Yankees give up a ridiculous package. But I thought the Yankees would have to give up more. It's a good package, but not a great package. Yeah, that's Soto's a generational talent. So those guys, the Yankees are rumored to give. And in this person that I read, and I'm going to say this person's name again because it just might be a random person, Jenner Tolles. Jenna Tolles. It says she's a baseball insider. She has 807 followers. I don't know. She joined in 2022. I don't know if she's a Padres beat reporter. I have no clue who the heck that is. I don't know if it's any credibility, but bottom line, we know that there's a lot of Juan Soto rumors going on tonight. So, regardless if she's right or somebody else is right, we know that Soto to the Yankees seems pretty likely. Juan, yeah. Let me pin your thing. So Juan, you're right. I don't see the Yankees making that trade without an extension. They honestly, Juan, they're gonna have no choice. I don't see Boris doing an extension. If they did an extension, that's how I think they did business like 25 years ago. There's really going to be no extension. There's really going to be no way. I mean, like Soto rejected $450 million from the Nationals a couple years ago. I don't want him to do an extension right now. I'd rather the Yankees do something, trade for him, and him walk next year. Hopefully, we're in a position to sign him. We can clear a lot of payroll and sign him. I would dedicate about $40 million to Soto. I don't know how much it's going to take for him to sign. It's probably going to take between 40 and 50 million, depending on, I guess, how many teams are involved next year. Game for war. In 2026, Soto will get popped for PEDs and become the next Cano Marte. As long as he's not on the Mets, as long as the Mets don't, open up the banks and sign him, I'm all for that. Obviously, you don't want the guy to cheat, but sometimes when a guy like spurns you and like goes to another team, you obviously feel bad because you wanted that guy. So if the guy gets busted, obviously he's doing the wrong thing, then he should get caught. I mean, that just you just brought back some bad memories of the Cano disaster. Although the Cano disaster, at the end of the day, like we can evaluate that trade now. Like for the first time, like everybody's like, oh, the Mariners got Kalanick, we got Diaz, we took on Cano's money. At the end of the day, we still got Diaz. He's got 4 or 5. I think he's got 4 years left. They don't even have Kalanick anymore. So I mean, at the end of the day, Brody Van Wagenen might have actually won that trade. Here's the thing about Juan. You're right. A-Rod spurned us for the Rangers. That worked out for us. Yeah, obviously, we probably would have chose to sign A-Rod in his prime if we had the option. I don't. You hear A-Rod. He speaks about the Mets like, yeah, he was close to signing with us, and I do remember like back in the day, like I heard rumors that he wanted the suite, he wanted his own jet, he wanted all this stuff. Obviously, the Wilpons, they don't want to give it to him. I would have loved having A-Rod. That probably would have changed the trajectory of the whole franchise. Really think about it. Like developing A-Rod, David Wright. Who knows if we're going to have Jose Reyes. He might have been trade bait or get somebody else. I mean, obviously we got Beltran, Delgado. I mean, we had a team that really mashed in from 2006 to 2008, 2009. I mean, that team was amazing. And imagine adding an A-Rod to it. Now, I don't know if we sign Beltran if we have A-Rod, but who knows what the opportunities would. If we had Omar Minaya, like Omar Minaya was a guy who constantly liked to add. So that could have been something amazing. Yeah, yeah, game. You bring up another good topic. Trevor Bauer. Definitely that. Everybody remembers that a couple years ago. The Trevor Bauer watch. We were watching that for days. We were all excited. Yeah, we're gonna get him. Us and the Dodgers, and then he posted, his our merch on his website or whatever. It was some type of crazy stuff, and then he ended up putting it out through Rachel Luba that he was signing with the Dodgers. Crazy stuff. But very arrogant, cocky guy. He didn't really seem like a good guy. I wasn't really surprised. Things turned out the way he did, and now he's not a major league ball player. I want to. I can't see him not pitching in the major leagues. I really can't. But bottom line, he's not having the career he would envision having. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so everybody was waiting for like the Juan Soto trade. So like apparently, like I'm pretty sure like a lot of you guys know like John Boy who does a lot of streaming. Obviously has his I think he's on the Yankee station as well. So he's very plugged in and connected. So he said that he was streaming the whole night up until Juan Soto got signed. Like he wouldn't go to bed. But apparently he just went to he turned off about a half hour ago because he said he got news that it's not going to be tonight. So apparently they're going to work out a couple of things. Hopefully the Yankees got to give up a lot more than we thought they would. Like the Spencer Jones, Drew Thorpe, Michael King package. We thought it was going to be 7 players. It went from 7 players to 3. I don't know. I think there's still a lot to be worked out. I don't know what the pressure is right now for San Diego to make a trade tonight. I don't know what the pressure is, but maybe the Yankees say, "Hey, if you don't take this deal today, the deal gets smaller every day forward." I don't know. Hey, what's up, Stoney? How's it going tonight? Thanks for stopping by. Wouldn't it be so nice if like we could just hear something like the Mets may like pulled off some type of crazy trade? That would be nice. Probably not going to happen, especially the way the winter meetings are going with nothing really going on. Us getting really excited over, I couldn't believe earlier today with the Fetty guy. I think the guy's name is Eric Fetty, the Nationals pitcher. I didn't even know. I forgot about him. Literally last I heard of him, he was with the Nationals. I remember like we used to light him up, and now like everybody a couple of people were excited to sign him. I'm like I don't think that was really gonna work out that well. Let's see. Okay, so a couple other guys we didn't talk about yet. Other options. So we already spoke about how the outfield literally has nobody except for Nimmo and an injured Marte. Some options that the Mets have been kind of like sniffing around are Michael A. Taylor, Jung-Hoo Lee, the guy from Korea, and Adam Duvall. So basically, the only one right there that really kind of intrigues me is Lee from Korea. He's a guy that I would definitely explore, considering we really have nobody. Just on the fact that the guy is really good defensively, that really intrigues me. That's step one. Step two, I don't know if whoever doesn't really know much about the guy loves to hit. Like he's had almost, I believe, 800 or 900 games. He's 24 years old. He's been playing since was 17, and he has a 340 career average. So I saw a couple people say the other day that he's Jeff McNeil. He's the Jeff McNeil of Korea. So I mean, I really got to challenge and push back against that, because let me read you some of this guy's number. And then I want you to kind of flip that. If Jeff McNeil went to Korea, if you think Jeff McNeil would have these numbers. All right, so last year or this year, 2023, Lee hurt his ankle. So I'm not going to go to this year. But last year in 2022, in 142 games, he had 23 home runs, 10 triples, 113 RBIs. He batted .349, on-base percentage .421, slugging .575, and an OPS of basically 1,000, 996. So he won the MVP in his league last year. So that was 142 games. So the year before that, he batted in 123 games, he batted .360. The year before that, .333. The year before that, .336. The year before that, .355. The year before that, .324. So bottom line, this guy can hit. So if I'm going to take a chance on anybody, I'll take a chance on this guy any day. He's 25 years old. He's a 5-time Gold Glove Award winner as well. He plays center field. I'll plug him in the outfield any day. You know, I know there's a learning curve. I know the KBO is way different than MLB, but there's guys who can hit and there's guys who can't hit. This guy is a guy who can hit. He's got good tools. Scouts project him to grow into his body more. He's 6 foot, 6'1". He's very long, lanky. They say he's long, lanky. His arms are long. His legs are long. So they said the scouts project him to put on more muscle. They project him to put on more mass. His swing is explosive. It kind of reminds me a bit of a Cody Bellinger, although he doesn't have as much power nearly as Cody Bellinger. But if we're going to take a flyer on an outfielder, especially the three that I just named, Michael Taylor, Adam Duvall, or this guy, I would definitely take a flyer on Jung Hoo Lee by far. Yeah, Stoney, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for asking. Hopefully everything's great with you tonight. All right, so we're going to get to your comment. I heard a rumor we are very interested in Michael Taylor. Let's sign him if we need to. Well, we went over earlier in the video that we basically have no outfielders. We have Brandon Nimmo, and then we have Marte, who's always injured, and then we have a bunch of scrubs. So if you're going to sign Michael Taylor, that's going to be more of a depth piece. Obviously, I wouldn't really want to put him in our starting outfield, but Michael Taylor, he's a bit of a different ball player. He used to be like a kind of like a scrawny guy. I remember him with the Nationals, but when I was looking at his numbers, I think he had like 21 home runs last year. The guy had 21 home runs, 51 RBIs, 13 stolen bases. His average was not the best, 220. His OPS was 720. But as a fourth outfielder, I mean, I'll take that. That's not bad. Because the reason why I will take it is because he's a good defensive guy, and we're looking for defense. And I believe he's good against lefties. Yeah, I got to look at the splits, but I believe he did bat well against lefties. But no, as a fourth outfielder, considering what we have, I would definitely take the guy. I would sign Lee as more of a starter. Him, I would let's. And just Stoney, just so you see what our outfielders are right now, we have Starling Marte, Brandon Nimmo, Cooper Hummel, DJ Stewart, and Alex Ramirez. So those are our outfielders right now. Cooper Hummel, he's a little better than garbage. DJ Stewart, he's probably going to be a DH and a bench player. And Alex Ramirez, he's going to be in the minor league. So we basically have nobody in the outfield. Oh, good. The Korean guy, the Korean outfielder, he was posted today. Like I said, that's a guy I would take a chance in. I would definitely take a chance on that guy. And I just started learning about. I think we all started learning about the guy. Like everybody started reporting about him on Sunday. You know, for some reason, it just seemed like he came out of nowhere. I don't know if anybody didn't realize he was going to be posted, but like I didn't start seeing anything about him until it was Sunday. Yeah, I started watching highlights of the guy. Seems like he's got a really good swing too. He's got an open stance, very quick on the low pitches, and he's very disciplined on balls on the outside part of the plate. Definitely a guy I'd take a shot at. Tony, I would take it too. You made my day when you said we have scrubs because we did sign a relief. Yeah, yeah. Of course, we signed a guy named Scrub. Of course, and then we signed Iglesias today. I mean, these guys, they're all like okay pieces. I don't know how much of an impact they're going to have on the team, but Joey Wendell, Jose Iglesias. I mean, like, all these guys, they made the All-Star team a couple years ago. So I mean, they do have some talent, but I'm not relying on them in their mid-30s. Let Drew Gilbert and his hair flow in center field. You know what? Drew Gilbert is a guy who plays with his hair on fire. So why not? I like Drew Gilbert. I haven't seen him much, but the highlights I've seen, I mean, he seems like a very exciting player. Seems like a guy you want on the bench, a guy who wants to win. You know, I like that. If we sign Lee, McNeil will be traded. Beatty and Mauricio have to play every day, at least for the first half. Maybe McNeil gets us a stud reliever. I mean, Dante, this is just me. Like, I really want to trade McNeil so bad. I know he's got a hit tool, and he won the batting title, a year ago, and I know he could play. He's a jack of all trades guy. I just don't like his attitude. I don't like he's always pouting. There's things about him I don't like, and I don't think are conducive to a winning team, a winning culture. Like if it's in the playoffs and you strike out, I don't need you pouting on the bench. I don't need that negativity rubbing off on the youngsters. I don't need that. I'm just very against that. If he matures a bit, if he focuses on baseball from golf and he changes his attitude, maybe. But other than that, I would capitalize if we can get a reliever or something else for him. We won 101 games the last a year ago, but we went nowhere in the playoffs. And now I know there were many reasons, but I look at chemistry on the team, and chemistry. You look at your main guys. You look at McNeil. You look at Alonso, and you look at Lindor. And I'm not blaming anybody, but if we're gonna make a change, and I got to trade one of those guys between McNeil, Lindor, Alonso, I'm gonna pick McNeil every day right now. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Dante, again, the KBO, you're right. We don't know how players will translate, but I guess that's why. Yeah, you're right. They have the scouts. That's where David Stearns is going to get his paycheck. They're gonna evaluate. They're gonna evaluate Lee, and they're gonna see if they think that his skills are transferable. Now, the thing is, you hear the contract with him, and it's not a high contract. They're projecting the contract's going to be like anywhere from about 4 or 5 years at $50 million. That's really not a lot of money for even a stud outfielder who could play defense. So there's really not much risk there. I really don't think that it's too much to. The only thing that I can think of that they might be reluctant is if they have the kids that they're thinking about. If they think Drew Gilbert is going to come up and if this guy is going to take time away from Drew Gilbert, that could probably be like the only thing that could be a caveat or a risk if you bring like a Lee in, the guy from Korea. And the guy, they call him the Korean sensation, the Korean Tony Gwynn. A lot of great things I hear about this guy, but we got to see. So feels like 2 a.m. is probably when Stodio goes to the Yankees. It feels like it's going to happen any minute. Well, I mean, like I mentioned before, I don't know if you heard, they said that John Boy was pretty plugged into when this was going to happen. And I think he got notification that it's not going to happen today. So he shut down his show for tonight because he said it's not going to happen tonight. I don't know how plugged in he is, but I mean, I keep looking. Who knows? I don't know if Cashman or AJ Preller is communicating with John Boy. I don't know. But if you're looking at this from a Yankees perspective, though, the Yankees got to get this done, no matter what. They really do. They really do. I mean, I've been thinking about this. I mean, this would kind of bring back like the evil empire, especially if they get Soto and they sign Yamamoto. Then the evil empire would be back in full effect. But there's no playing around now. If they're going to take that step forward, they have to get Soto. You just hope that they give fair value to the Padres. All right, from Ramon. Hey, Ramon, how's it going? Hopefully you're having a great night. Hello, I would like to know, why are we not going after a Rosarina? Thanks. Well, here's the thing. David Stearns is not really saying what he is or not doing. So are we going after a Rosarina? I don't think we're gonna give up any blue chip prospects, but the Tampa Bay Rays or the Rays, they evaluate prospects differently. So depending on how they rank our prospects, there could be a deal that David Stearns could work out. So is it likely to happen? I'm kind of leaning toward like we got to wait and see. But at least there's potential there because we know the Rays aren't willing to sign these guys. They're not going to want to sign a Rosarina to like any type of long-term contract. And he's actually he's a guy like, even though he doesn't have crazy type of numbers, he's a winning ball player. There's guys who are winning ball players who fit and mesh well in any team. That's a guy who I love to plug in our team. I love to plug in our lineup. He would shake things up tremendously. All right, well, thank you, Goomba, for this comment. All right, we better hope the Dodgers get Ohtani. If not, they get $150 million to use on Yamamoto as their backup, it has to be the Dodgers Otani. And you know what? That's a great point because Dodgers last year they punted. They didn't punt on the season, but they really punted on acquiring any big free agents. So yeah, if they have a lot of money or if they evaluate these guys, Yamamoto and Otani, as those are the two guys they're going to spend a crap load of money on, at least Otani would maximize that type of budget. But if they don't get Otani, I highly anticipate them going for Yamamoto. No doubt about it. Yeah, but the bottom line is we won 101 games a year ago. Not too long ago. Nothing really changed except for we added Justin Verlander, Jacob deGrom left, but that didn't really that doesn't really answer why the offense really suffered last year. Yes, Marte got old suddenly, but I think last year, no matter what anybody says, or maybe you ask Tommy Pham was very clear what he said about our team. He said we didn't work hard. There were like really bad attitudes. So that's why I kind of like single McNeil out because you could kind of see the bad attitude on the field because he does things on TV that aren't really conducive to him being a good teammate. Ramon, that's a very good question. So what about Shota Imanaga? And Imanaga, he's a wild card. He's a bit of a wild card. He's a smaller frame guy. He's about 5'10". He's a lefty. But he's got good numbers. He's got good numbers overseas. Again, you don't know how it's going to translate. Last year, specifically, he was 7-5 with a 2.66 earner ERA. Over his career, he's 74-55 with a 2.96 earner and average. His strikeouts are about 9.4 per 9 innings. His walks are not bad. They're about 2 per 9 innings. So that's not a bad ratio. Now, I haven't done much research about him, but as far as looking at his numbers and seeing if they would translate and me taking a flyer on him, I would definitely explore it because I don't know if you heard the beginning of my video. The free agent pitchers, in my opinion, are pretty crappy this year. They're pretty crappy. Besides Yamamoto, obviously you got guys like Snell and Jordan Montgomery who are decent talents, but since they're decent talents in a pool of crap, they're going to be overpaid. So I'm not going to be looking to overpay those guys. So if Imanaga is a guy where I don't have to overpay, yet I have decent upside, that's a guy that I would look at. All right, so next comment. Can't think of any $300+ million 10-year contracts that work out. Even Trout gonna be horrible by the time it's done. Otani will be also. As a Mets fans, we know how pitchers do after a second Tommy John. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, that's a really good question. I mean, about the 10-year expense, these contracts. I mean, obviously the big ones, Pujols just ended. That was horrible. Miguel Cabrera, that was another long contract. That ended. That was horrible. Is ending. That's horrible. Joey Votto, yeah, that's horrible. Garrett Cole's in the 9-year contract. He started out pretty decent, but we got to see how he finishes. Yeah, I mean, like it's if you're gonna pay somebody over $300 million, you're going to expect like 4 or 5 really crappy years. That's the bottom line. Now, how much in those first 4 or 5 years are you willing to invest? How do you envision yourself or your team being successful? Like, I'll give you an example. The New York Yankees right now are in the midst of the Aaron Judge $360 million contract and the Garrett Cole $300+ million contract. Now, Garrett Cole, I believe, is in his 4th year. Aaron Judge is in his 2nd year. Both those guys are in their prime, right? So if the Yankees go after Soto or go after Yamamoto, they're doing it because they have players that are currently in their prime and they need to capitalize. So if you sign a contract, you have to look at your other chips. So if I have an Aaron Judge or if I have a Garrett Cole already in place, I'll be more willing to sign a Juan Soto and sign him to a 10-year contract. Because some of those years are going to be highly unproductive. Wow, is Pete Alonso really wants $280 million? I mean, to me, I think that's a bit crazy. I really do, because I'm assuming that $280 million is going to be over the course of, let's see this, probably 8 years. Let's see how crazy this is. So if it's $280 million over 8 years, that's $35 million a year. So that's a bit crazy. So if you make the salary less, so if you do 10 years for $280 million, that's $28 million a year. If he's looking for $28 million, I think that's a bit ridiculous. And then you look at Matt Olson, what did he make? $160 million over 6 or 7 years. I mean, the Braves, like I said, they're notorious at getting these value contracts, but you can't give Pete Alonso a $280 million contract, and expect to compete. I mean, he doesn't play elite level defense. He's going to be 30 years old. Besides home runs, he's not an average guy. Like, he's not a guy that I would want to give $300 million. He's not a pitcher. He's not a shortstop. He's not even a catcher. If you want to give pitchers a lot of money, if you want to give center fielders a lot of money, shortstops a lot of money, first baseman, there's a reason why first basemen don't make over $300 million. You see shortstops make over $300 million, but value-wise, to pay a first baseman $300 million or close to there, it just doesn't make sense. And if Pete's looking at like Uncle Stevie saying, hey, this guy's a billionaire, he'll pay me, I think that maybe looking in the trade market for that franchise-altering trade might be something that we would have to highly, 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 highly explore, even though I love Pete and I wanted to break all the records. All right, so this comment, Goomba. See, I don't want to complain, but I'm gonna read your comment. Yeah, Pete wants 35 to 40 mil for 7 to 9 years. It's all messed up. We're paying $20 for beer, 17 for hot dog. Enough already. Cost me close to $500 to take my son to a regular season game now. Okay, now here I don't want to. I don't want to. I try not to be too negative, right? But this is exactly why you can't spend $300 million on a payroll and you can't give up on a season. Fans pay way too much money for you to just give up on a season. So this is why, especially having spent so much money on payroll, there is no way you can punt on 2024. There is no way. Because I feel like the team has to earn me going to a game. That's how I feel. The team has to play to a level where I want to go to a game, because I know when I go to that game, I got to spend a lot of money. And if I go with multiple people, like you mentioned, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So, that's why 2024, I expect them to win every single year since Steve Cohen became the owner. Like he said, we're trying to win a World Series in 3 to 5 years. Those are the expectations that I hold him to. If he's moving the goalpost, it's too late. He already promised us. See, Ramon Urias and Frankie Montes are good fits. These guys are good fits at what cost, at what price? Frankie Montes a couple of years ago, I mean, he would have been a guy who was in line for like a very big contract, but obviously we know his career hasn't went in the direction that he would have wanted it to go in. So guys like that, it's just at what cost? I'm not overpaying anyone. I'm tired and I'm done with overpaying garbage. In the last couple of years, I'm tired of getting excited for mid-level players. I'm tired of getting excited for Mark Hanna. I'm tired of getting excited for Eduardo Escobar. These guys got more money than they should have. We overvalue them. At the end of the day, guys at Eduardo Escobar, we overvalue. After winning 101 games, we should have been building on that year. Starling Marte should have never got a 4-year contract. Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about the pitcher. What the heck? What the heck happened with something happened with Julio Urias? I know he had a bad year, but he's a guy like I take a flyer on. But I believe something happened with him, because he's not on anybody's radar right now. But he was a guy in the beginning of the year I was definitely looking at. Is this right? Okay, so I'm looking right now. So it says there was an incident. There was an incident involving Dodgers pitcher Julio Urias, who was detained and accused of felony domestic violence on September 6th. So a concerned citizen saw a man attacking a woman after a soccer match Sunday at Exposition Park. They flagged down the police, unaware that the man was Dodgers pitcher Julio Urias, according to a report released on Thursday. So based upon that, I don't think that Steve Cohen is going in that direction, because with the Jared Porter situation, everything that's went down in the organization, I don't think that I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that Trevor Bauer, or I don't think that Julio Urias, and I'm just learning of this right now. And I was wondering why he wasn't in the news. So it seems like he has some accusations against him, but I don't think that Steve Cohen is going to go in that direction. Yeah. Pete, as much as we all love Pete, as much as we all love him, we have to be realistic. He's going to be. All right, I'm going to bring him up right now, and let's look at some facts. So the highest paid first baseman right now is Freddie Freeman. He signed a 6-year, $162 million deal with the Dodgers. So that's the highest paid first baseman right now in the game. So basically, Alonso would literally would try to blow that out of the water. And next year, well, this year he's going to be 29. So next year he's going to be age 30. So going into his age 30 season. Now, here's what's going to be interesting. What if Pete, and I know this is crazy because he's not worth that money. He's really not worth that money. What if Pete somehow puts up an Aaron Judge year? What if he puts up 60 home runs? And I know, you're like, maybe you're thinking, oh, he can't do that. But if we remember this year, Pete got injured. He got injured in June. I think he got hit on the hand in Atlanta, and he lost about a couple weeks. And when he came back, he was a shell of himself. He lost like a month. Like, he was on track to hit 60 home runs. Now, if he has that year, that type of like mega crazy year, there's going to be so much pressure on the Mets. There's going to be so much pressure. I mean, it's going to be tough, but he's definitely not worth that contract. I mean, in year 2, year 3, you'll be like looking in the mirror saying, oh my God, we gave Pete close to $40 million. Now he's only hitting 30 home runs. He's hitting 220. I don't know. It'll be a very interesting year to say the least. And like I said, if Pete presents an opportunity to have a franchise-altering trade, I would look into that. Yep, we got some good conversation in the chat, talking about Beatty, Vientos, and that's a good point. Explosive, Beatty's trade value has completely tanked. So I would like to build his value up if you're going to trade him. Like right now, like what are you going to really trade him for? He's really worth nothing. Like last year, he was a top prospect. Like we could have put him in a package for somebody pretty decent. Like this year, like he's worth nothing. All right, game. I like the loyalty. I'd rather have Pete Alonso than Juan Soto. It's a little tough. I mean, if they were the same age, it'd be like a good conversation. But just by the fact that Juan Soto's 5 years younger, it's tough. I mean, like I would just go by Juan Soto's a really dynamic hitter, and I would just I would really go with Juan Soto, but I could understand why you love Pete. What's up, Christian? So the Yankees are getting Yamamoto. Everybody says they're getting Yamamoto. Boston says they're getting Yamamoto. The Dodgers say they're getting Yamamoto. We, the Mets, think we're getting Yamamoto. At the end of the day, he's probably going to Atlanta. Let's see. Wouldn't it be crazy? I mean, like, us as Mets fans, we were talking about the Mets getting Juan Soto and Yamamoto. At the end of the day, wouldn't it be crazy if the Yankees get Juan Soto? They trade a couple pitching prospects away, and then they replace those pitching prospects with Yamamoto. And then that line, oh my God, with Judge, Soto, Dominguez, that's going to be crazy. the Bronx is going to be crazy if that happens. No, Christian, I was just joking. I don't think he's going to Atlanta. I mean, I hope he's not going to Atlanta. I would pay. He's a guy. He's the right perfect age. I would pay him. I don't know what the top offer is right now. They're saying the top offer is around $250 million. $250 million. I think that would make him the second most expensive contract pitching wise in history, right behind Garrett Cole. So you're already investing a lot in, like you say, people are saying it's an unknown, but he's got a crazy record in Japan, three-time MVP. He's run their version of the Cy Young Award 3 separate times. I mean, he's got an earner average of around 1.50. So he's got like crazy, ridiculous numbers. Not even in the twos. He's got like all these insane numbers. Yeah. I'm gonna post this one. All right. This is a good comment. Knew we weren't getting the 6th pick. They won too many worthless games last month of the season. Missed it by 3 games. Such a joke. Can't even lose right. Yeah, no, I mean that was the thing. Like I remember that too. I'm like, I was upset we were losing, but then then we just started winning a couple of games, and we went from like 4th to 5th place to like 8th or 9th place, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? But you know what? As long as you scout right, it really, like I said in the beginning of the video, it shouldn't matter where you draft. It really shouldn't. If everybody does their homework, you can get a guy at 19. You can get a guy at 19, and you could miss a guy at 6, right? You could miss a guy at 6. So let's just keep that positivity right there, because that could happen. Oh, shoot. We have a signing? Stoney, is that true? Michael Tonkin? Uh-oh. Is that a real guy? Sounds like a fake. Oh. Wow. David Stearns is really digging deep. Oh my God. Okay, so this guy, he pitched for Atlanta last year. He was 7-3. He had a 4.28 earner average. He pitched in 80 innings. His whip was 1.08. But the thing about this guy, Michael Tonkin, he didn't pitch in 6 years prior. So he pitched in 2023. And then before that, he hadn't pitched until 2017. So he took a 6-year rest. So this is just some extra bullpen help. Yeah, see, I might not be evaluating this guy right, but this guy, from what I just took a quick look at him, Michael Tonkin. Obviously, you're not going to know too much about him. He pitched for the Atlanta Braves last year. He pitched in 45 games. He pitched 45 games in the last 7 years. And he pitched a 4.28 earner and average. He's like nothing special. It's just another shot in the dark, middle reliever. If the guy has a good season, we'll get it for cheap. It's another value signing. Another value signing. Wow. All right. Yeah. No, it doesn't look. I'm trying to look and see if this Juan Soto thing is happening tonight. It doesn't really look like it's going to happen tonight or this morning. Probably happen later tonight. Hopefully, we have some like type of moves. Like these winter meetings have been so boring. Hmm. See, I was wondering if everybody had to like pick like one guy on the team who would break out. You know, if you had to think of one guy, whether he's a pitcher or position player, like it could be some of the new guys we picked up last year, like Acuna and Drew Gilbert. But if I had to pick one guy for that had a break or is going to have a breakout season, I still got to put my money in Ronnie Mauricio. I really do. I mean, like the kid's got a lot of tools, a lot of power, a lot of pop. You know, I like the way he didn't play that many games last year, but with the limited time, I really like what I saw. So I mean, that would be my guy. That would be like my guy who I would predict to have like a breakout season. Although last year I predicted Tyler McGill, so I was way wrong. But this year I got to go with Mauricio. I love the kid. I love the tools he brings to the table. I love the energy he plays with. But you know, the good thing is we got a bunch of like young guys who could be like those breakout guys. It could be a Viento, could be a Beatty, could be a Gilbert, could be an Acuna. You know, maybe it'll be some of the pitchers if we ever bring them up, like you know, Christian Scott, Vassell, Dominic Hamill. All right, everyone. I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. You know, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to try to do it tomorrow night again. If anybody wants to stop by, I really appreciate everybody. Great conversations. Hopefully, we have something good going tomorrow night. Hopefully, we got some great moves. But again, can't thank you enough, everyone. Have a great night.